I was standing in the kitchen when the email came through. The kettle had just begun to whistle, that thin, sharp sound that fills the silence of a house you once thought was shared. 8 years of marriage had taught me to ignore small noises, to let things pass, to assume silence meant peace. My name is Daniel Harper. I'm 30 years old, and for most of my adult life I've worked in financial risk analysis at Northbridge Advisory Group, the kind of firm where you're paid not to panic, where your value comes from seeing consequences before other people do. I spend my days studying patterns, safeguards, and worst-case scenarios, making sure systems don't collapse just because someone assumes they won't. Lauren, my wife of 8 years, worked in business development at Axiom Crest Solutions, a fast-moving consulting firm that thrived on big promises and bigger personalities. She was the opposite of me in almost every way. She was sharp, ambitious, and effortlessly charming in ways I never tried to be. People noticed her the moment she entered a room. We met in our early 20s and grew up together in a way that felt natural back then. I became her steady ground. She became my momentum. For a long time, that balance worked. I believed in us. Until one email changed everything. That morning I checked my phone out of habit. The subject line stopped me cold. "You deserve to know." It was from my wife. She was supposed to be on a business trip. 3 cities away, 2 conferences, 4 nights. I remember thinking how formal the subject line sounded. Not "miss you," not "landed safely," not even "we need to talk," just "you deserve to know." I opened it. I found someone worth my time. "I've moved your inheritance into my personal account. Don't try to contact me. I'll have my lawyer reach out." I didn't spill the tea. I didn't drop the phone. I didn't even sit down. I stood there, rereading it slowly, as if it were written in a language I'd almost, but not quite, forgotten how to understand. 8 years. 1 email. 3 sentences. That's how she ended it. I typed back 1 line. "Thanks for the heads up." And then I went to work, where a colleague glanced at my face and asked, "You okay?" And I nodded and said, "Yeah, just one of those mornings," even though it wasn't. People assume betrayal comes with warning signs. It doesn't always. Our marriage wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, predictable, safe. We met in our late 20s. She was ambitious, sharp-tongued, charming in rooms full of people. I was quieter, the kind of man who listened more than he spoke. That balance worked for a while. She liked to say I was her anchor, and I remember her laughing once over dinner saying, "Without you, I'd drift." And I smiled and replied, "Someone has to keep us steady." I like to think she was my compass. When my parents passed within a year of each other, they left me something substantial, a generational inheritance tied up in trusts, properties, and long-term investments. I didn't flaunt it. I didn't spend it. I protected it. She knew it existed. She knew it wasn't fully liquid, and she knew, very clearly, that it wasn't ours. Or so I thought. Over time, she grew restless. Potential, she called it. Untapped opportunity. I remember her pacing the living room one night saying, "Do you know what we could do with that money?" And I answered calmly, "I know exactly why we shouldn't." She wanted access. I said no. Not angrily, not dramatically, just no. That was the first crack, followed by a silence where she finally said, "You don't trust me." And I replied, "I trust the system more." The business trip came out of nowhere. New role, new exposure, important networking. She packed lighter than usual. Didn't ask me to drive her to the airport. Didn't kiss me goodbye. I noticed all of it, but I didn't question her. Trust has a way of dulling instinct. That night, I slept alone. The next morning I received the email, and in that moment, standing in the kitchen, I realized something important. She thought I was unprepared. Here's what she didn't know. The inheritance was never fully under her reach. Yes, her name appeared on documents. Yes, she had limited authorization. But control, that belonged to a structure my father insisted on. A structure he once explained to me over coffee, saying, "People change, systems don't." A layered system, delayed triggers, oversight clauses, and one very specific provision. Any unilateral transfer without dual consent would activate an automatic legal review. She didn't steal the inheritance. She tripped an alarm. I didn't respond emotionally because I didn't need to. I responded strategically. The next morning, while she was probably celebrating her freedom, she contacted her lawyer. I know this because her lawyer contacted mine, and my lawyer contacted me. He didn't sound surprised. He sounded impressed. "Do you want to proceed?" he asked. I smiled. "Yes," I said. "Let's proceed." And he replied, "Then let's let the paperwork speak." Within hours, the accounts were frozen. The transfer reversed pending investigation. And then came the call. She rang me. Over and over. I didn't answer. She finally reached her lawyer again. That's when it happened. I wasn't there, but I heard the story later. She was standing in a glass-walled office, confident, smiling, until the lawyer stopped talking, until he turned his screen toward her, until he explained what she had triggered. The email, the transfer, the clause. "This shouldn't be possible," she said. And the lawyer answered quietly, "It was always possible." Her phone slipped from her hand, hit the floor, shattered, just like her assumptions. Here's the cruelest irony. The man she left me for, he vanished. Turns out he was drawn to confidence fueled by money that wasn't actually hers. Once the accounts froze, so did his interest. And when she asked him, "Are you still coming?" he said, "I can't get involved in complications," and stopped replying. She lost more than an inheritance. She lost her illusion. Weeks later, she emailed me again. Longer this time. Softer. Regret disguised as reflection. "Can we talk?" she wrote, and I read it without anger. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The divorce settled quietly, fairly, legally. When the mediator asked me, "Are you satisfied with the terms?" I said, "I am." She walked away with what she earned, not what she tried to take. People think revenge means destruction. It doesn't. Real revenge is restraint, preparation, letting someone face the consequences of their own certainty. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I simply let the system work. And every once in a while, when I hear a kettle whistle, I smile.